What did he take? What did he take?
We were just having fun.
Give me your phone. Now!
Law enforcement is called to the scene of a house party, where a bystander confirms a drug overdose with help from her police dispatcher. Classic opioid overdose signs include a limp body, blue lips, nails, or skin, irregular or absent breathing, a slow, erratic pulse, pale skin, choking, gurgling, or snoring, and dilated pupils, signs that are universal regardless of skin color. The person can be awake but unable to respond, or unconscious. What began as recreational drug use has escalated out of control. Suddenly, the party's over. As a safety standard for officers facing dangerous situations in the line of duty, law enforcement officers should always respond to overdose emergencies with the proper backup and appropriate PPE. Thankfully, this person made the right call, 911. She has performed the first 2 steps for opioid overdose prevention: check for signs of overdose and dial 911. In Georgia, the 911 medical amnesty law, also known as the Good Samaritan law in other states, generally provides immunity for a limited quantity of controlled substances. A person who is observing or experiencing an opioid-related overdose can call 911 to seek medical attention without fear of facing criminal charges. Please check your state's Good Samaritan law, as the scope of protections covered by this immunity provision varies by state.
Where is he? Oh, this way.
Before entering the home, officers should don full personal protective equipment, PPE, latex gloves, and masks. Officer safety is always a priority. Upon entering, officers act in concert to de-escalate the situation. Officer 1 assesses the environment, locates the victim, and identifies heroin as the offending drug. One officer should be close enough to monitor the situation without entering the contaminated area. He radios for an ambulance.
Hey, what's his name?
Joey.
Joey? All right, do me a favor, step out for me. Thank you. Hey, Joey, can you hear me, buddy? Stay with me. Joey, can you hear me?
Although this officer isn't tending to the victim directly, this scene is contaminated. Without PPE, she's been exposed to heroin laced with fentanyl, a synthetic opioid that is comparable to morphine but up to 100 times more potent. Her condition could deteriorate from ill to unresponsive in a matter of moments due to rapid respiratory depression. Officer 1 intervenes immediately. He radios for additional help while promptly administering naloxone to the exposed officer.
Dispatch, I have an officer exposed to fentanyl. Please send an additional ambulance and back up to 5315 Ivory Road.
This officer must move quickly to continue the 5 steps for opioid overdose prevention. In Step 3, administer intranasal naloxone. Also known by brand names Narcan and Evzio, naloxone is an opioid antagonist administered to rapidly reverse opioid overdose by binding to opioid receptors in the brain. After administering naloxone, proceed to Step 4 and support the person's breathing by administering oxygen or performing rescue breathing. And in Step 5, closely monitor the person's response.
He's still not responding.
If no response is detected within 2 to 3 minutes after the first dose of naloxone, use a second dose. Once breathing normalizes, place the person in the recovery position on their side and continue monitoring. Stay close to provide warmth until EMS arrives. Notice, this officer did not slap or forcefully stimulate the victim. These tactics only cause further injury. If you cannot initially wake the person by shouting, rubbing your knuckles on the sternum, or lightly pinching, the person may be unconscious. You never want to put an overdose victim into a cold bath or shower. This increases the risk of falling, drowning, or going into shock. Don't inject the person with any substance other than naloxone, the only safe and appropriate treatment. If the overdose substance is unknown, administering naloxone will have no adverse effects on the victim. And finally, don't attempt to make the person vomit drugs they have swallowed. Choking or inhaling vomit into the lungs can be fatal. When handing off an overdosed individual to EMS for medical intervention and transport, brief them on the overdose timeline and all actions taken by law enforcement.
Okay, what are we dealing with?
Hey, yeah, this is Joey, 30-year-old male. He overdosed on fentanyl-laced heroin. I gave him 2 doses of naloxone. Got his breathing rate up again right now. He's alert, conscious, breathing.
Once hazardous substances are cleared, it is safe to remove and dispose of PPE. With the overdose victim safely in the hands of EMS, law enforcement still has work to do. Officers should proceed to fully secure and process the scene. This includes confiscating illegal substances, completing documentation, and making any necessary arrests for illegal activity, as per your agency's policies and procedures.
So what happens next? Am I going to be arrested? We only called to help him.
Whose heroin was it?
It was Joey's. He took it first. It just happened so fast.
Okay. Do you know if there's any more drugs here?
No, nobody else took any.
Okay.
Remember, Georgia's 911 medical amnesty law protects only the caller or callers and overdose victim with immunity when the quantity of drugs falls below a certain amount. Illegal activity beyond that protected unit must be dealt with in accordance with state laws and agency policies and procedures.
So I think you guys are good. You can go with them. If we need anything else, we'll give you a call, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
As you've just seen, law enforcement officers who arrive first at an opioid emergency are in a critical position. Responding immediately with the 5 steps for opioid overdose prevention can rescue an individual from the brink of death. Check for signs of opioid overdose. Call 911 for help. Administer naloxone. Support the person's breathing, and closely monitor the person's response. Always make officer safety a priority. Request backup. Wear PPE. Administer naloxone to exposed individuals, and call for EMS support while you monitor the victim's breathing. Remember to always properly store or dispose of contaminated PPE. You are a lifeline for victims in the debilitating thrall of opioids. Today, trained law enforcement officers saved this man's life. You might be wondering, what do survivors of opioid overdose think of these heroic efforts? How does their story end? That is next.